On this episode of Game Shack, has Basic Fun already crapped the bed with their release of Return of the Jedi? I'm going to explain the not great connection between Pac-Mania and that cab. Plus, I'm going to talk about what I think the Black Friday pricing is going to be from Arcade1up, some more pinball news, all that and more coming up next. Hey everybody, welcome on into the Game Shack. I'm your host JDV for Evil Genius Entertainment. Thanks for stopping by. It really does mean a lot to us that you spend a little bit of your day with us. All right, so let's just jump right on into it. Basic Fun is making almost every single mistake that you can have in the book. They have the wrong controllers for Tempest, the wrong aspect ratio for Tempest, a poor screen. They don't have the original ROM for the wrestling game. And now on the Return of the Jedi, you have this screen that is very bloomy, just one of the worst screens you can ever get. Trust me, I know. I've owned this thing for 3 years now. It's not a great screen. And why am I mentioning all this about Pac-Mania? Well, apparently it has the same monitor that the new Return of the Jedi game has in it from Basic Fun. Now, right off the bat, you guys should go over and check out Michael B, the Game Genie's initial impression review of this. He did a live stream a couple of days ago, and he's done a magnificent job kind of running through the positives and negatives of that. I'm not going to show any video of that because I want you to go and give Mike a little bit of love. So go over and check out his video if you haven't. But I'll simply say this. This is probably the worst screen that Arcade1up ever put out. And I can't imagine, if it is the same screen that is in the Basic Fun, I can't imagine a worse screen for a 3-game system, 2 of which are vector graphics. And let's be real, that's why people are buying this cab. They're not buying this cab probably for Return of the Jedi, although I do actually like that game quite a bit, and it looks okay on there from what I could see from that video. But people are coming for that original Star Wars vector graphics game. And they are going to be very sad, mad, and disappointed when they look at it because as the footage shows very clearly, not talking about screen glare from where his camera was set up, I mean, it's very clear that the game itself is blooming. And what is blooming? It's just like, kind of like when a bright light source hits a camera or something and it kind of fuzzes everything out, kind of makes everything all white or opaque, and it just looks bad, like as bad as it can be. And this game suffers from that, but because there's no vector graphic games on there, they're all, Pac-Man, Galaga, Galaxy, that lineup, they're okay. They look just barely acceptable enough that you can feel okay by it. And I got this, used for $200, so all right, I can handle that. But at $600, which is what Return of the Jedi is going to be going for, that screen decision is frankly, it's incomprehensible. All right, so let's talk a little bit about Black Friday, what I predict. If you go over to Best Buy right now, you'll see that they have their Galaga Deluxe machine on sale for $411. And as far as I can tell, that is the cheapest price that you can buy a deluxe cab new in box from any of the usual suspects. I think $411 is an absolutely fine price to pay for any one of those deluxes. And I suspect that we will see Mortal Kombat come down to that $411 price. I can tell you right now, I don't necessarily know that they're making any more deluxe cabs after this year because this is all stock that was in the US presumably before the tariffs hit. So they might be looking a lot more closely at those classic SE cabs. Anyway, I suspect that those classic SE cabs are going to be going for $299, which is what they came at. So not a giant sale if that's what it is, but still I think that's, considering everything, that's a pretty good price. I think for non-hardcore hobbyists, that's actually a pretty good deal and a great way to get into the hobby. You get all that online play, which you're not getting at those $600 cabs that you're getting from Basic Fun. So that's another thing to learn from. Anyway, I suspect those cabs are going to be $299 at Black Friday. I don't know if things like Time Crisis and some of their like Fast and the Furious you might see at $450, but that's probably $500 as low as that's going to go because there is still a lot of demand for that cab. In terms of the iconic Street Fighter, I've not heard anybody getting any kind of shipping news or like say, hey, get ready to accept this package. Now again, it's not supposed to be delivered for about another 3 weeks. So that's probably, not to be unexpected. It'll be very interesting to see when people start to get those cabs, because that might be your best shining hope for a Street Fighter cab now that their Arcade1up's trying to sell their last version for $900, which is absolutely ridiculous. Maybe a class action suit needs to be there for false advertising, because the idea that that thing debuted at $900 is ludicrous. I turned down buying one new for $300 because it didn't have Darkstalkers on it. So I'm going to pay $600 more than that. Crazy. In terms of any other thing that I've heard, I don't know that we won't be seeing the pinball game Alice Goes to Wonderland at least into early January, so it's going to miss the Christmas season. So no word on that. And I also haven't seen it for sale. So I haven't seen, if you missed the Kickstarter on that, which is now officially over, you cannot buy one. So we'll see if they make a second order for that available once it ships, or if they're just going to shift over into a new skin, which is something that they might do. All right, so that's going to wrap up this little episode about Basic Fun and some of the things that they got to do better. This is not rocket science. You just got to have a better monitor when you're doing vector graphics game. The one other thing that I would say about this, and no one's brought it up yet, you got to have more than 3 games on that cab. $600, a big piece of furniture in your collection, a very unique yoke control system. Give us more games. If you're going to put in a very, very poor, basically unacceptable monitor, then give us some sugar. Right now, everything about these cabs coming out seems like the little brother to Arcade1up. A lot of people complained about build quality and things like that from Arcade1up. Well, here you have kind of all of the worst aspects of Arcade1up in a maelstrom of kind of half-baked cabs coming out. And I hate being negative about anybody. And I know this is difficult. I know putting out these cabs is not easy. You got to get all the licensing right. You got to make sure the FCC okays you. You got to get it all boxed. You got to ship. You got to deal with all that nightmares. I understand it is galactically hard to do this stuff. But you're not having people who actually play video games for fun test your video game. Don't ship out review units. Send out test units. You could save yourself so much trouble. I'm sorry, let's flash back 3 or 4 years ago when Simpsons did come out. It was Michael B's review of The Simpsons where he pointed out the horrifically bad controller setup where the buttons were right next to the joystick. Didn't make any sense at all for Homer, the primary player in that game. Did not make sense. That was another game that only had 2 games on it, right? And it costs a lot of money. It's like, Basic Fun, you've got to be willing to learn from the mistakes that Arcade1up has done, or like Arcade1up, you will be following them into the dustbin of toy history. All right, if you dig this kind of content, please comment down below. Let me know what you guys think. If you guys ordered any of these, what's your experience with these cabs? Are we totally wrong about this? Or no, this is the deal of the century? Or no, you regret spending that $600. Please let me know down below. We have a great community here on this channel. All right, until next time, love each other, and I'll see you guys in the Game Shack. Mwah! See you around.
Be sure to visit evilgeniusentertainment.com for exclusive content, swag, casting call news, and much, much more.